go, yeah, start translation. And stop transcription. I see now. So now it's okay. And once again, today we will discuss the pre and post processing of CSS. Today's agenda will be, we will talk a little bit about what is post and pre-processing, discuss SASS less Stylus, and take a look at the summary. So what is the intro to CSS preprocessing? CSS preprocessing is basically a scripting language that extends CSS and then compile it into the regular CSS. It means that it gives some specific language and syntaxes, compile it with their processors, and provide the browsers correct syntaxes which browser can understand. So the benefits of this process is that is modularization for your styles, reducing redundancy with variables and mixins, code reuse across multiple projects, and nested. But otherwise, we have not native style for browsers, and it might be not good. Not all the time it's good, and it needs to be compiled. So let's discuss SASS a little bit. SASS, this is this synthetically awesome style sheets. You could take a look at the official page also. As I remember, it's called sass.com. And the SASS, this is a special style sheet language that's compiled to CSS. It allows you to use variables, nested rules, mixins, functions, and more other useful things, all with a full CSS compatibility syntaxes. SASS helps keep large style sheet well organized and makes it easy to share design within and across projects. And let's take a look a bit at the syntaxes. So the more popular SASS format has a different abbreviation at the file extension .SCSS, which means SASS is CSS. It was made to keep compatibility with CSS format. So let's take a look and compare it. So, for example, in SASS style, you could see at the picture, we have identifier main, which has a color blue and font size 0.3 em, and it all and also in some element which is have ID main, we have a tag, and we have option for this a tag. When we hover on it, we will change background color. So here we could see that the blocks for fonts, for hovers. And we may notice that there is no left on braces, which is blocks for main styles. And also there is no semicolons, but in order to have organized and structured and easier to understand these styles, you should have all these spaces and tree structure. It will be easier for you. So, and you could take a look this variants of style with SCSS, and you might notice that we have semicolons, we have braces. So let's go to the next slide, and here we will discuss a bit less. Less is also CSS preprocessor, meaning that it extends the CSS language, adding features that allow variables, mixins, functions, and many other techniques that allow you to make CSS that is more maintainable, sameable, and extendable. Usually less run inside Node and in the browser and inside Rena. Stylus, this is a dynamic style sheet language. It's design influenced by SASS and less. It's regarded as the third most used CSS preprocessor syntax. Let's take a look how install all this language, style sheet languages. Application with SASS supports, and here so there are a lot of good applications that will get you up and running the SASS in a few minutes. For Mac, Windows, and Linux, you can download most of applications for free, but a few of them are paid applications. You should know about this. And about SASS installation, you can install SASS on Windows, Mac, or Linux by downloading the package for your operating system from GitHub and add it to your path. That's all. There are no external dependencies and nothing else you need to install. For example, if you use Node.js, you can also install SASS using an EPAM package, just running the command npm install -g SASS. It means that you globally install a SASS package. However, please note that this will install the pure JavaScript implementation of SASS, which runs somewhat slower than the other options listed here, but it has the same interface, so it'll be easy to swap in another implementation later if you need a bit more speed. So here you could see the few commands how to compile inputs SCSS into the output CSS and compile all SCSS from folder and watch for changes. This command very useful to check yourself, for example, if you're developing HTML pages. So let's take a look to less installation. The command's pretty similar. You can install less using npm packages, installing them globally. You can compile them from less to CSS and compile and minify them using the flag -x. So also you could use less in the browsers in such way. You can just you could use less in browsers, but it's recommended only for developers or when you need to dynamically compile less or not on server side. This is because less is a very large JavaScript, has a very large JavaScript file, and compiling less before the user can see the page means a delay for the user. In addition, consider that mobile devices will compile slower. For development, consider if using a watcher and leave reloading would be better suited. So it means that basically better to use less not directly into the pages, but develop it into your application and use it more correctly. So Stylus installation, as you could see, almost the same commands. You can install it you should install it globally, compile just a bit easier command, Stylus bootstrap styl, and you can compile it from Stylus format to CSS format with flag -- out. And you can also compress them, and also you can compile and watch for changes. It will open this style and show you what's happened there. So preprocessor capabilities. Let's take a look at all these points. Next slide. SASS variables. For example, we see here such as variables as font stack on a screen and CSS file and primary curl. It means that you might create some kind of constant and provide them some values and use them in this file or in other files. How to use it in other files, we will take a look at a bit later. But for example, here for body, we use font 100% and font style, which is font stack, Helvetica and sans serif. And color for this, for font color, we use not dash, hash 333. So and all this constant will be compiled into this CSS when you will run your application. So less variables. They are pretty similar to SASS variables, but they expect the variable names are prepared. And I should highlight that the variables in SASS variables, you should start your constant using the $sign. And for less, the syntax is started from @ symbol. So almost the same, pretty similar style. How to use this? You define the variables. Here the say variables, and use these variables into your styles, and this will compile into very understandable language for browser. And for stylus variables, it's not stylus variables don't require anything to be prepended to them. Also, it allows the $ symbol. As always, the ending semicolon isn't required here, but an equal sign it's between the value and variables. So as you see, the compilation will be correct too. So let's proceed to operators. And here, let's take a look how it should be looks in SCSS lesson styles. And here the main point that, for example, width, as we could see here, it might be calculated, and sometimes you don't, for example, sometimes you don't know exactly which sizes of blocks will be in your application, or for example, you create such variables of code in additional file, which you would like to be more abstractful. So, for example, here we see that width 600 pixels divided by 960 pixels multiplied by 100%. They converted to the 62 and 5% and 31 and 25%. But the main point here is that these numbers might be converted to the percent, and also it's such structure help you to well organize your style, and also as I said just a bit before, if you would like to create more abstractive code, you might use some variables instead these exact numbers, and using these styles in other differences. For example, in main page you would like to use weight, to calculate weight using 300 pixels divided by 400 pixels, for example. But in another page, you will have different numbers in it. You know, just put these correct numbers using variables, and you don't need to double your code again. Does it sound clear? Or I confused you? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, hope it will be more or less understandable for you.
I'm sorry. I have a common question that do we need master the reprocessor CSS to write a good code, or we just need a pure CSS, or we have to master this?
Master? Or master for what? I'm not
master
understand.
SASS, LESS, the processor, the syntax. I mean the syntax. Or we just need to understand about CSS.
CSS, you need to understand it or not, or?
I'm sorry that the knowledge about I'm sorry, I miss again. How to write that? Do we need to put a lot of time to learn SASS?
Do you need to spend more time to learn SCSS?
Yes.
Or so my opinion, you should know CSS. All options, as much options as you can. You usually will take a look some styles into just Google it, but the main style you definitely should know, and how it should look, how easily to write them, because you definitely will face with these styles in future. In application, definitely, and even in Node.js sometimes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So let's proceed then. SASS and less nesting. Yeah. So just discussing previous code, we faced with syntaxes when we have some children inside some parent tag. For example, here in nav, we have nav tag. Inside this nav, we have the list, and for this list was defined personal styles, and for each item from this list also. And as I see, the list contain a link also. So here you could see like we have parent, like, you know, the tree structure. Parent, inside the parent we have children. Here we have two children, which is directly called, this is a list and children list. Actually, yeah. And for each children list, we have okay, three sub children we have, but it will be compiled to the pretty similar and pretty easier to read styles. you could see all of in a right panel. But what I would like to highlight that it's easier to write when you it's easier to write such variants of style when you have parent, and inside this parent you have a children, these children have their children's. It's easier because you could see it's also in your HTML file, and you can see this and translate these tags or their classes into your CSS style file. So also for Stylus, we have such variants of code. Just pay attention that in Stylus we don't have braces, and as you could see that here, to be honest, not well organized because just a bit difficult to read, right? That we have nav, and inside nav we have UL, Li, and A tags. But here, here it's just incorrect pictures. Just they don't separate the lines. But here we have all the same structure, but without brackets and semicolons, and we have the same result. So referent parent selectors, the symbol N and symbol reference the parent selector. What does it mean? So, for example, we have A tag, and for this A tag, we would like to change the color when we hover on this. Just remind you that, yeah, when we hover the mouse on this tag, these links, just we would like to change. So easily, usually we might text it as we might set A tag color and then define A colon hover and set style for this block of style. But in Stylus and SASS and Stylus, we might just easily not duplicate some tags or additional styles, because this is pretty simple example, but sometimes it might be more complicated and you might double in a usual style CSS file, you just might duplicate some code. But here just put and symbol and text hover style or focus blue and so on, and set the style here. So immediate children selector, we can write the children selector inside the parents brackets as it was discussed hover. So you might do the same with sorry, I'm just taking a look how the sign called. So it right angle brackets. So yeah, just you might put with sign and symbol. You also might put such signs as left or right angle bracket. Also, what we have tilde. We have asterisk. What else? Actually, also plus. And I think I something forgot, but yeah, this is very usual selectors. But the most famous, this is a children's selectors. What does it mean? It means that inside, I will just show it to you. Okay, as I did it before, just a minute of my painting skills. So, for example, in a HTML page, we have, let me check, change color. We have a tag. Why does it text? Cool. we have text here. And here, what I would like to tell you that on a page we have a tag. Of course, here is have other attributes, but we don't talk about them. We would like to talk about style. So, and inside of this a tag, we have, let me wider a bit. And inside of this tag, we have tag span. Okay. And inside this tag, we have some text. Link to the new page. Yeah, something like this. So that code means that for this span inside of this a tag, we change the color. So it means that if we have some text here, it should be black. Hope you all know at least 3 colors that 0, 0, 0. This is a black. Who knows the color for white? Which letters or numbers should use?
I think it's FFF.
Yeah, 3. Here is a 3 because all 6 numbers should be 0. And for white, the same. All 6 parameters should be F. So you might short them because they are the same, and you might text it shorter FFF. And could you please tell me what does this color mean? Assume at least. Maybe someone know. If not, I will tell you. Just call me that we don't know.
I think it's maybe darker than the maximum white. Maybe gray. Yeah.
Yes, this is a gray color. You might also text here blue, red, white using words, but this is a hex format for colors, so be honest, usually easier to use this hex format because for browsers we have a plugins, which I don't know how it's called in English, but you just put your mouse in needed your colors, click there, and in this plugin you will see this hex number, and you might easily to put it into your code and use them. So
I think it's called color picker.
Yeah, it's called exactly color picker. Thanks. Yeah, so this code means that, once again, this code means code style means that inside a tag we have span, and a tag and span tag will have different colors. How it will be compiled to the CSS, you could see on the right screen. Okay. Hope it's does it clear for you?
Can I assume that those processors are trying to make syntax more friendly for developer, right?
Yes, such variants. It's easier to write because you cannot confuse yourself. You will not lose definitely, because usually you have one page of style, and here also HTML. You write HTML and see the all structure, because you will you will not write HTML in one line, right? You try to follow the tree structure of this text, and when you see on this tree structure, it's easier to write style in the same way. And when you see that A inside have a span, you just put it in your styles, and you will definitely not confuse in your styles.
Yeah.
Hope it sounds clear from my side. So import. This is a one more interesting and helpful option. Do you remember that I previously tried to explain you that you might use these variables in other files, right? You might create them and then import in some other files. So here we will take a look how to do this. So for example, okay, I should start that usually all browsers, I try to explain why it's called reset CSS. Usually all browsers have their own default styles. So it means that in Firefox and Chrome, some text will be definitely looks a bit different, or for example, they have margin or paddings different. So in order to create in all browsers definitely identical styles for the pages, we create reset style sheet, which allow you to reset all styles, all default styles. So here, just small example of this reset CSS, and here is they reset all margin and padding from the HTML body and different types of lists, UL and OL. And then include this file into their base CSS file using import. And how it will be looks in the end, you could see in the right side of screen, just the compilator, they will import this style in a top of body, or for example, in a place where you imported, and continue compiling your usual style. But just try to highlight, maybe it's not clear right now. For example, this variant of SCSS styles, it means that in this example, they are located in one folder. If this style will be located in other folders, for example, reset style will be in reset folder, base CSS will be in this file or in base folder, you need to correct your path. So it will be reset/reset. Okay? Don't forget about it. SASS mixins. Yeah. So very useful tool, mixin of functions that allow the reuse of properties throughout our style sheet, rather than having to go throughout our style sheet and change a property multiple times. We can now just change it inside our mixin. What does it mean? It means that you create some mixin, which is called, for example, border radius here. Set this border radius, and in this case, radius, it means by default 5 pixels, but if you set new value for border radius, it will be used not default, but what you have sent. And just include them into your style, and please use it, and you will see the border radius in all browsers. Hope you remember that WebKit was in NMS. This is for Chrome browsers, Mozilla, and Internet Explorer. So let's continue. Let's take a look at the mixin for less and SASS. Just comparing, I will show you for the SASS and for the less. Do you see the differences? For less, we use @sign. For SASS, we have $sign. Inclusion, we just a bit different way. For SASS, we define as mixin using @mixin and name of this style, right? And include we these styles also using @include and this name with parameters with which we would like to set. But for less, we have more easiest way to, without any special words, just dot name of this style, set default parameters, and call them using this just name dot border radius. It means that it's just a bit easier as for me, but the result will be the same. And for Stylus mixin, they are looks, as we discussed above, that Stylus likes to use for variables equal, not likes. This is their styles. So they use instead symbol at or dollar. They use equal and just call them without dot. Please pay attention. So once again, for SASS, we use add mixin and add include. And for default variables, we use variable, which is defined with dollar sign. For less, we not use some special words. We just use dot border radius and call the same way this style. And for Stylus, we use dot border radius as the name of this mixin. We might set default variables and call this style without any dots and special symbols. The result usually will be the same.
I'm sorry, I have a question about mixing. I see that mixing is like variable. So what are the difference between mixing and variable?
So mixing, this is a functions. It allows you reuse them. You also might reuse the styles and once again, let me take a look. I will shoot them, okay? No, we lost it again. Yeah, no, sorry, maybe it's because I need to do like this. I just would like to draw a little bit. So this is mixin. This is all called mixin. Variables, this is the variables for SASS, right? What does it mean? It means if you would like to create, it means that mixin, this is a function which has set of variables, or no, not variables, styles. Here is a set of some styles, right? But it means that for border radius, it's maybe not, so here just example with border radius, because it's easier to put this border radius in one place and to call them once, because for border radius we have 4 styles in order to it works correctly in all browsers, right? But if we create variables for all these lines, it means that we will create the variables web browsers radius, which will have value 5 pixel. And let me one more time. I try to text it. What I would like to say that mixin is shorter, but if we try to do the same style using variables, it will be longer, definitely. So here we have an example of mixin, but for example, as a variables, it will be, so here is for SASS, it should be WebKit. I can call it as I would like, so border radius with values radius. So, and also in a box, what I should do, now how to do correctly, you will see this. Yeah, like this. So I have created the variables, and inside box it will looks like minus WebKit border radius and like this. WebKit border do you see? And for this, here we have 4 styles. And I should, if I would like to realize the same using variables, so it means that I have radius variables. I will create WebKit border radius, Mozilla border radius, MS border radius, and in box I should in this case write text WebKit border radius again and put these variables there. Most border radius, MS border radius, and just border radius. You know, it's something about 10 line. Yes, how many lines here? Maybe 5 lines. Okay. Does it sound clear?
Yeah. So it's meant missing, trying to avoid duplicate properties.
Yes, duplicating makes shorter this because for Visimixin, you might do this just in 4 lines and call in 1 line, right? But with variables, you should define radius. You should define all these styles and call and not call and you should also in box style call all these styles and provide them these variables from your constant. It's a bit longer. Okay.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, really good. Yeah. When you will take a look at this presentation again, please pay attention with the mixing and their styles. Okay. Okay, so SASS and Stylus extended and inheritance. So here, let's take a look at the message. The message class has a border and padding, and for SCSS and style we would like to extend them. So what does it mean? It means that you create one class, which is usually when you would like to use in few styles and other styles, for example, and this code usually will be duplicated. You just create some additional class and extend them to each time when you need it. So how it will be compiled? Here, provide example, not compiled, it's equivalent how it will be in CSS. It's better to say. So in CSS, you just call this, not call, you just call all these classes in one list and provide them this style. And then for these styles again, you will create separate classes with their personal styles. But the variants with extended classes, it's more readable. You don't need to always remember that somewhere in the top of the file you have common styles for all these classes, and maybe this list have 10 classes instead of 4 as it in this example. So this variants with classical CSS style, you should always remember that somewhere exist common styles, and you need to change it in your direct class, and don't forget to fix something in a common classes. Sometimes it might be in different files even, so it's not usually convenient. So this extended class help you or avoid misunderstanding, or you just don't need to remember all the time in which files you have some additional classes. Hope it sounds clear. So let's proceed, and placeholders. So here we again have a message class which we extend. And what does it mean? It means that we have few additional syntaxes. Just click into other slide. So here we call this using dot message, and here we use a percentage sign or placeholder, maybe it calls in this case. So you might call it in different ways. But again, you need to remember that somewhere definitely exists some additional class. And extend in inheritance in less. Yeah, here interesting things that extends providing, a bit different syntaxes and symbol, colon, extend, and the name of a class in brackets, right? It calls round brackets, yes. So that's it about extended and inheritance styles, and about loops. This very interesting and interesting feature which allow you, not duplicate your code, but for example, if you need to create for some tags or some classes the same code and you need to duplicate them because of some reason, you might use loop. For SCSS, for SASS style, it calls at each, and pay attention with the syntaxes. You provide the variables, which is called ABCD. Then you set these variables into dot dash, and in brackets you put these variables and set these styles. Yeah, in this example, this is very useful for creating background images if they have pretty similar, or for example, all images names, and you know that you might create them the same style classes with the same names, so it will be useful for you. So functions. Let's provide several functions which quite descriptive keywords that we can use to manipulate. And we have such functions as lightning, darken, saturate, desaturate, fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out, fade, spin, and mix. How to use them? This is you just call lightning, provide them color and percent, and you will see the differences in your screen. So let's discuss right now post processors. Post processors apply changes. Yes.
I have a question about the placeholder. I don't know what there is to.
Sorry, I'm not sure what's the purpose of the question.
Okay,
Can you explain, please?
What placeholder do in this call?
This is just another type of how we can call this. Okay, let's I will just put you just a bit more information after the presentation, okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so cool. Post processors apply changes to CSS file after it's been hard-coded or generated by a preprocessor. We use post processors usually to tweak it and improve it to get more out of our CSS than we could do by ourselves. So what I would like to discuss here, let me have a look at this. Let's take a look at the picture and try to understand how preprocessors works. So in start of this process, you have some special style, SASS less on Stylus. Then the program parse it and try to find or define variables, mixing functions, cycles, and other options. Then they compile this into the more appropriate code for web browser, save this, and provide your file. Not you, your web browser compiled file. How work post processors? Post processors, not almost, but yeah, just have a vice versa process. Instead of this process, you have CSS, it parse, use some plugins to compile and create a file, and as a result, it should be actually not CSS, it should be less or SASS files. Sorry about this. I confused. So post processors, it means that so we have CSS files usually in this way. For example, right? So we have A, B, C, D classes for background image, and we just provide this in this way. Post processors, they usually how it called it in English, they makes your file shorter and quite shorter. It means that they remove all spaces, all not usable styles, make shorter them. For example, if you text color as 0006 times 0, they will short them to 30, and so on, so on. So if preprocessors makes your style files from less Stylus or SASS make readable for web browsers, it might be compiled in with all spaces, brackets, and so on. So post processors, they short them, more shorter them, makes shorter using some plugins. Usually, how they short this file, it depends on some settings which you allow, which you set in your configuration file, and then you will have CSS, another CSS which is shorter, which is almost not readable, difficult to read usually. So yeah, something like this, it works. Maybe I can show you if you would like. So I will open it here, and min CSS, just to show you how it looks. Do we have? No. I will show you Bootstrap on example on Bootstrap, okay? So for example, here, when we try to download, we will try to download. Yeah, for example, usually we have structures in our libraries, which is have usual regular CSS or map. It means it should be with a min CSS, and we have examples min CSS. This file, download pages. No, download. Yeah. So let's take a look at this file. You should see that this is a map, and it's almost unreadable. And also min. That's what I know. Not this. This file. That's what I would like to show you. It looks like this. If we would like to compare it, Bootstrap min, we should see this file. Yeah, it's more readable. Don't you think this? But bigger. Here is just short file, have all styles. Okay, let's continue. So, yeah, so what I can add here about post processors. Yeah, my add vendor prefix to CSS rule, post CSS tool that use JavaScript based plugins to automate routine CSS operation. And yeah, useful links all here. As I said, SASS, they have their own web pages. Here only SASS, but there is a less pages. Also, you can take a look the documentation here and Stylus. This styluslang.com. You could easily find by yourself. The documentation also available on the web, and you might download it, I think, too. Okay. So the question. Let me first. I stop translation. Okay.
I have still another question about post processing.
Okay.